So what happened that night? Well, you see, me and a couple other disciples were with Jesus, and Jesus went to the Garden of Gethsemane, right? And Jesus, he went off to go pray, right? And he said, "Stay awake with me." So we said, okay. So we sat there, and Jesus was out praying. And I got to tell you, it got really tiring. It was like 11 o'clock at night, and we got really tired. Like we were just kind of, like just dozing off, like no tomorrow. And then finally, all of a sudden, like we hear, "What are you guys doing?" We all just kind of, we were awake. And Jesus said, you couldn't stay awake with me like 1 minute? And we're like, it's getting late. And then he goes, "I'm going to go pray again. You guys stay awake again." So we're like, okay, we can do this. We can stay awake. We didn't. We fell asleep again. So anyways, we heard the footsteps again. We all jolt awake. And Jesus was very disappointed, obviously. But then he said something that none of us really understood at the time. He said, "My hour has now come." And we are all really confused there for a while. And then all of a sudden, all these guards came. But with them was Judas. Judas was with them, so it must have been fine. And then Judas came up and kissed the cheek of Jesus. And then the guards started arresting him. So one of the disciples pulled out a sword and cut off one of the guy's ears, right? Ridiculous move. I don't know, why he would ever do that. That was so ridiculous. Out of the anyways. So he cuts off the ear, and then Jesus bends down and he heals the ear. And it's like, come on, he just cut that off. You just put it back on like that. So then he tells me, the disciple to put away a sword. So he puts away the sword, and they carry Jesus off. And all of a sudden, me and a couple other disciples were sitting there, and we're like, what do we do now? So naturally, we followed them. So we kind of go, and then he comes to a court, and they're prosecuting him at the court, but they never actually gave him any reason. They never let him have a defense at all. They just kept beating him, slapping him, and he never said a word. And then I go down, and the crucifixion is starting to happen, right? And this lady comes up to me, one of the disciples, and says, "Didn't you know Jesus?" And he said, no, I don't know him. And then I went over to a burn barrel, and I started warming my hands, and someone came up to the disciple and was like, "Hey, don't you know Jesus?" And I was like, he was like, no, I never met the man, right? And then he went to a different spot, and again, a lady came up to him and said, "Hey, I know you were with Jesus." And the guy was like, "Oh, no, I've never seen him ever." And then all of a sudden this rooster crowed. And I was like, "Oh, no." He was like, "Oh, no." He just betrayed the Lord 3 times, Jesus said it, he would. And then I just kind of sat down and started crying. He sat down and started crying. It was a very emotional time. It was very hard. So anyways, the beatings happened, they whipped Jesus, the whole incident with Barnabas, and then they lead him away, and they crucify him on the cross. So then after that, all of us disciples just kind of scattered, right? And we're all in this house at one point, and talking over what we should do from this point on. And this woman comes knocking on the door, and we go, "Woman, what do you want?" And she goes, "Jesus is gone." We're like, right, Jesus is gone. He can't be gone. It's not physically possible, right? So he comes in, they're like, "No, Jesus is gone." So me and another disciple got up, and we booked it, right? And the other disciple got there before me, because he's a little more athletic, that John guy. So anyways, he gets to the tomb before me, and sure enough, it's as empty as my mailbox on Valentine's. But anyways, yeah, it's empty, you know, and all that's left is garments, and we're like, whoa. And then Mary was like, I saw a gardener, but then plot twist, it wasn't the gardener, it was Jesus, and we're all like, oh, that is a plot twist, you know. And then we're like, Jesus is alive again, and then like. Just he came and saw us, and then we got to see him ascend to heaven again. And then Thomas, doubting Thomas, he didn't believe it, but he shoved his fingers in the holes of the nails, and it was just absolutely amazing. It was fantastic, yeah, that's what kind of happened that night.
Do you know why we brought you in here?
No, I have no idea why you brought me in here.
You're part of the group called Catching Jesus, aren't you?
Yeah, like we founded Catching Jesus, like that's our main point, yeah.
What were you trying to do?
Well, we were trying to catch him.
Why?
Because he did like this miracle with some pigs, and ever since then, we wanted to make him our king.
So they crucified him.
They what? They crucified him? They caught him? We have been trying to catch him for months. We have set traps. We have put water out to try to catch him, and he just walked over the water. We have tried digging holes. We have tried, that was the main three things we tried. We didn't get too inventive. But they caught him, and they crucified him? Waste of life. My goodness. Like, he could have been our king. Like, oh. How did they catch him?
He just walked up to them and just gave himself up.
Are you kidding me? He just walked to them? Maybe we should have asked him. Just be like, hey, can you come with us? That probably would have went over a lot better. Good to know for next time.
Who are you?
I'm the mother of Jesus.
You're Mary?
Yeah. Mary's the mother of Jesus.
What happened?
I killed my baby boy.
Killed your baby boy?
Yes. They murdered him. They put him on a cross. Joseph must be so distraught right now. I'm not his father. Yes, you are. No, I'm not. Yes.